Boom. So let's get started. Where we at? How do I take this off so you guys can see me? Hola, finally, we're here. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to Will to Wellness Wednesday. My name is Fefe, the Holistic Gypsy, and I am so happy and honored to be with you guys tonight, and I'm thankful for you guys tuning in. I am the founder of Holistic Tribe Health and Wellness Club at FefeTheHolisticGypsy.com, and I am a certified detox specialist, clinical iridologist, holistic coach. And so I'm coming to you guys if you haven't already tuned in, or if you're watching this recording, you've seen the title being up there while we were setting up and getting started. It has been a struggle to get this broadcast up and running. We had first internet connection, then we had a bug on Safari. So hopefully this is able to successfully be able to be streamed. Matter of fact, we're not going to say hopefully, we're going to claim and affirm it. This will be a successful stream, so you guys will be able to watch this broadcast and get something out of it, and hopefully this will be able to shift your paradigm for the better in your life when it comes to addressing such a very common, underrated issue that is taking place in our society today. So, what is that topic? If you are watching from a place and you did not see the title, if you have not checked my Instagram, tonight's topic is about food, addressing food addiction. I do see a bit of a delay, so I'm going to check in. There's no delay on your end? Everything seems to work smoothly, because on the stream here, it looks like there's a delay. Good? You can hear me good? Everything's good? Okay, awesome. Just want to check, because listen, we'll let that go past. But yeah, so the topic tonight that is usually overlooked, underrated, that is affecting our well-being, our quality of living, our vitality, right? And is obviously a very pivotal topic that we're discussing tonight, which is about our health. And I just want to put a disclaimer. I am not obviously a physician or a doctor or licensed doctor. However, I'm a holistic health practitioner, certified detox specialist, clinical iridologist, and regeneration specialist. And I've helped people be able to have these so-called miraculous healings without even touching them, doing anything invasive, but really learning symptomology and through iridology and the practice of detoxification. People were able to shift and heal themselves from infertility issues, depression, tumors, fibroids, cysts, herpes, high blood pressure, low cholesterol, and all these other things. Why is this taking place? One is because when you learn not to treat the symptom, right, and you address the body whole, because the body does work interconnected with the other parts of the body, when you're not just focused on just suppressing or treating that particular symptom, and you're focused more on lifestyle shifts. This is what creates people to be very empowered, being empowered, left with actually having knowledge that they've applied, and they were able to see their lives shift for the better. And these are things that are not commonly taught, because of course normally in the Western medical industry, they do want you to be a repeating patient of theirs. And I don't really believe in an inferiority superiority complex unless you are perpetuating it. I do give everyone equal footing and ground. So if those are willing to actually take hold of their life and really know that they're missing some things, and they're making space for people to pour into them. And I know diligently we're all taught to go to people with the white coats and people in the uniform, but we're slowly shifting and learning to take this power back in our own hands. And so I definitely don't take it for granted. I definitely don't see me other than being used, right, by the higher forces, because if this was common knowledge, if it was common knowledge for us to really be in tune with ourselves and know who we are, and what we're capable of, we could stop talking about the they, and we could just be in a different paradigm, for one, you know. And so the first thing is really taking accountability for your health and what you're doing, instead of talking about they and what they're doing, because they wouldn't even be relevant if we stop giving them power. And so that is really my motto when it comes to that. So I like to focus more, and hey to everyone that is tuning in. And also, if you guys are watching, please share, send this out, share this to other people, by the way. But my focus is, because I do have my moments when I think about they, right? Because I do still pay attention to they, but I put more emphasis and attention on me and what I am capable of and what I am able to do. And so when I see there's people out here really teaching us stuff to really empower us, such as the great Dr. Robert Morris, who has really taught a lot of people, whether you have, you can go on the internet and study his work now, because I've studied his work for over years, but prior to actually finally contributing financially to go and get my certification. But I saw this shift happen in me first, and I applied it, because we are in the age of information, but information can only do so much if you're not applying this information, if you're not implementing it, right? So you have to utilize it to actually make a difference in your life. So back to the topic at hand, which is food addiction. As a holistic health practitioner, I've actually had many people from all walks of life come to me, and I'll say this: some people who are really, really stuck in their ways, but I even seen, I don't want to categorize it just the age thing, but I will say that from my experience, I've seen certain people in a certain age bracket be very fixated on not changing, right? So when their wife or their sister and their brother has pushed them to come to a person like me, right, who is a young entrepreneur mom who is not clearly, again, a doctor, but I am certified and I do qualify to help people shift their life if they're willing and want to. So I had certain people come to me, and again, normally these type of people who are very, they're not even really making space for a person like me to help them out. They're more so feeling pressured by their family, because they don't really want, their family is trying to save them from getting cut, surgery, radiation, or any other forms of, typical standard, what we call conventional medicine, right? So I'll talk about this one particular client, and then I'll lead into tonight's topic. So this one particular client had actually a tumor on his kidney. I believe it was his right kidney. And they watched it grow, and so it got to a certain point where the doctor was pretty much like, we're going to, we're going to either do chemo, radiation, and we're going to just cut the whole kidney out. And now for a lot of people, this sounds like, yes, thank you, doctor. I am very happy that you're about to cut my kidney out and put battery acid in my body, right? This will help take away the boogeyman, cancer. So this is the typical mindset for those who don't really understand the power that really they possess, right? So a lot of people will get this done. And so this particular client had a choice, but his family, his sister and his wife didn't want him to get that done. So through my connections, they was like, hey, this person's helped with this and this and a third, go to her. So he came to me, and when he came to me, I could tell he wasn't fully sold on the idea of, a person that's not a doctor helping him. So when you're already in this mindset, it's kind of hard to convince a person to really be all in and all in for themselves, even though their health is on the line, not mine, theirs, right? So they came to me, and I told them what, I prepared them. I said, well, I can't put you on a protocol. And it was a good friend, so I didn't fully take them on. If they put the financial money back into this, I'm sure it would have been a little bit different, right? But it even had clients who done that as well. But, I told him, I gave him some free advice, which was pretty much go on an all-fruit fast, right? Go on, and we call it a fast, but it's not technically a fast. A fast is abstinence to something, and you're still eating. But my point is, eating raw, hydrated foods. Do it for 2 weeks and see where you go. Because he had an appointment to get his, X-rays and sonograms appointments prior to his particular appointment, leading up into the surgery day. So now he's coming to me expecting a huge boom. If it's gone, it's gone. If it ain't, right? And this is typically what happens, especially if you guys are in the so-called alternative health community, which is not, is really the natural and real health community, but I digress. Because we've been, this field has been precedes Western medicine and is what we call the establishment or powers that be. So anyway, so I tell him to do this. So his family and his wife and everyone encouraged him. So they, made sure he did it. Guess what happened? He was able to actually, shrink the tumor, right? He was able to actually shrink the tumor, I think down like 3 or 4 centimeters. And that was only within 2 weeks, and I couldn't even tell you if he implemented straight away. So his wife calls me up happy, like, oh my God, and she was religious. She was like, thank God it shrunk. It was the prayers. It was this, it was that. Thank you so much. But it really wasn't me. I just gave this person information on what to do to heal themselves, right? And if, it's like you could bring a horse to water, but you can't get the horse to drink it. So the wife called me crying, about like a week later, because her husband had decided, because when I talked to him, I did tell him, like, you're going to have to get rid of eating this, and this. He said, and I remember him saying this to me, and you start to get thick skin when you as a practitioner are here to, hold space for people, but they're not holding space for themselves. So he said, oh, I don't see me getting rid of my meat. I don't see me getting rid of my meat. So I'm going to get the surgery. So his wife had called me because she thought she can go behind him and convince him otherwise, especially after he already saw his progress in shrinking it within, 3 to 4 centimeters within 2 week span of time, which again, they've watched it grow. So instead, he opted in to get his kidney cut out and go through the chemo treatment. So this, I would have loved to have that case to be fully closed where, he could be like, yeah, I don't have the, was he capable? Yes, clearly. If he was able to make that progress in 2 weeks span of time, right? But what stopped him was his addiction to food. So this shows the power in the topic we have tonight that we're going to be discussing, is because, you have these options, right? And we want to claim that someone is some boogeyman. But this was a thing. It wasn't that this person didn't know that they had this option to change and shift their life and get rid of the cancer, get rid of the tumor in a natural way where he could still have 2 operating kidneys. And it's sad to say, because this particular person also doesn't know understand the body and how it works. And the thing is, okay, you can get that part cut out, but guess what? You keep eating and putting your body and organs and glands, the terrain of the body is still unhealthy. We're going to say, oh, it's spread. It's like, no, the next weakest link is going to, also try to, when you're having a tumor, it's trying to save itself from you, not someone outside of you. It's you, your addiction. And little does this person know that probably in a short span of time, depending on if he decided to really at least have incorporate some of the things he's learned throughout our sessions. It all depends, right? But if he's not fully changing his lifestyle, then you're just kicking the can down the road. You could get whatever you want cut out, however often you want, but if you are not addressing the root, which is our behavior, which is what we're consuming, which is the environment we're putting ourselves, and we're made up of cells, right? I love quoting how simplistic Dr. Morse puts it. We're made out of cells and 2 fluids. So trillions of cells here, which makes up the bones, the tissues, the organs, the glands, everything. And then the 2 interstitial fluids that make up the environmental place of the terrain, which is blood and lymph, okay? And so if we are not creating fluidity within the body with proper hydration, and we're eating stagnated foods, this is what typically happens, right? So why is it that we are so addicted to taking our body to this extent and not being able to put this food down, and rather choosing the what is at our detriment and what is actually creating this suffering and deteriorating our body? Why are we constantly still just having this very unhealthy attachment and relationship to this food? Why is it that embedded? Why do we give it so much power, right? Because no one's force feeding us, especially as adults, we are feeding ourselves. And so, we could talk about the industry all day, but it's us who has created the industry to be as big as we are, because our lack of knowledge, our lack of self-discipline, right? Our lack of willpower, us deciding to stay ignorant. But I'm sure everyone who is watching this broadcast, right, are not in that space, and are at least looking to hold space to learn something new and do something different to get different results. Because normally we're surrounded by a sick, mentally, emotionally, and physically culture, right? Emotionally deprived, mentally, it's just mentally normal to be addicted to food, and it's just almost like the only type of addiction that you really, food addiction you believe is actually real is those who are morbidly obese. Right? Because we have put that on TV, and so it desensitized the average type of person, just because they may not be morbidly obese or dealing with and eating out the trash can, right? And binging and having all these other type of disorders. You disassociate with thinking that you have a food addiction, right? But the thing is, majority of society does have a food addiction. If you look at advertisement, what are the three main things that they advertise to us is drugs, food, and sex. And these are high addictions we'll talk about that affects our will to wellness. And that's why, by the way, you guys are watching and tuning in to Will to Wellness. I'm Fefe, the Holistic Gypsy. I'm a holistic health practitioner. You can find our online tribe on the web. Check out my links in the description if you are first tuning in and someone has shared this video, and I thank you guys for watching. But tuning back in, so we're going to talk about it. I actually written an article that I want to share with you guys tonight, to really delve into how embedded, because you're not going to be able to overcome it until you we delve into it. So we're going to delve in layers, so we can really overcome and understand the psychology, because we're being preyed upon, you guys, and we have made society and the powers that be in their powers due to our ignorance and lack of discipline. And so when we actually start cultivating or at least making space to not only acquire knowledge of self, but implement this knowledge, this is what's going to change and shift the paradigm. Can you imagine living in a society where people do know how to heal themselves? They do know what it takes to be in a state of health and wellness? Because guess what it does actually takes? It takes a level of self-discipline. It doesn't matter how much money you're going to make and what status you meet in society. Health is something, and that's why it's so undermined, because you don't get no social points, right? I know now it's like a fad thing, right? And that's a whole nother topic in itself. But now it's cute to be so-called healthy or perceived healthy. But real health is really doing things when no one's looking, and doing it for your well-being, and constantly staying and diligently staying in a place of balance, and seeking and committed to willing yourself back in balance if you fall off, because we're all human, we all fall off, we all make mistakes. I personally, constantly have built a better relationship with food, but I fell off the wagon too, even me as a detox specialist. So I'm not here speaking anything that I'm not associated with. I'm still here with everyone, and I also live on this earth. So I understand, how attached we are to our food. I understand that it's like a social norm. I understand like we a lot of times want to eat for bonding. A lot of times in relationship is usually entertaining, going out, and what is it? It's circulated around alcohol and food and entertaining each other, and that's what's cute and fun in a relationship. So it's a lot of socially interwovenness of really trying to it's really embedded in our society. I mean, we go look in advertisement, and even if we're here on social media, right? A lot of us say we don't have TV anymore, but you can just see a lot of addictive food behavior tendencies, even in the vegan community, because the vegan community is just another like type of fucking psyop to distract you from really achieving what you really want, especially if you're going and peeling back away from meat for holistic and health reasons, and then you go into these chemically frankenfood type of shit, and you get lost in that world too, right? So let's go into it. So I'm going to, if you guys are tuning in on YouTube, Facebook, and on our website, we actually right now I do have an article that I'm sharing right now, and it's the article that I've written about, I think, last month, and it's going to be like a series, because again, I'm going to break this down into layers, and it's called Food Addiction, Emotional Attachment. Okay, so if you guys are watching, you can see it on the screen, and I'm going to delve into it. So I would love to hear you guys' opinions and comments in the description, so we can interact, because that's the beauty of having these lives. How are you guys doing here, Instagram family? Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. Okay. All right. So food addiction. This particular series or portion is called emotional attachment. Okay. So let me pull my chair. If we're going to get better with addressing this, we were going to have to really go into it first and hold space for the psychology behind food addiction. So let's just go into how embedded it is within us, right? Food addiction. So I wanted to do this topic for a while, but I wanted to present it the right way, to truly go in depth. And if you guys are interested, this article again is on Fefe, theholisticgypsy.com, and the article section. And you don't have to be a member. I do leave room for those who are not a member to see some of my content and work. So yes, but you guys are here and you get to watch it, and we're gonna delve into it tonight. So I wanted to do this topic for a while because I wanted to present it right way, to truly go in depth. I was very hesitant to present and do this video for Will to Wellness Wednesdays because I wanted to truly come from a very holistic and balanced perspective. I will do more videos about our relationship to food in the future. By the time you have read this article, I may have already done them. This is a very big topic because food addiction are so common. However, most people have such a dramatic perspective about it that they are desensitized. So it is usually overlooked that many people actually have a poor relationship with food, which leads to food addiction. Just as people who have poor relationships with themselves and others become prone to sex addiction. Sex addiction leads to distorted views of the act itself and the point where it is degraded and abused. The same goes for food addiction. I will do videos about this correlation at a later date. So, where it starts. How did we start our relationship with food? Hold on, give me 1 second to change the screen here. Awesome, there we go. Okay, where was I? How did we start our relationship with food? Well, our relationship with food started before we can even talk. It was one of the first things we enjoyed and are soothed by, usually within the first 30 minutes of coming out of our mother's womb. From my intuitive perspective and from so-called research perspectives, the first type of food you are introduced to as an infant impacts the type of food you gravitate towards throughout your life, as well as your unconscious connection with food. So this, and you guys can research. I know, I have a lot of people who are research heads, and you can research this on your own time. So, of course, because here's the thing, they're studying us. And there's so many people who make it their mission to study us so they can alter human behavior, which obviously alters our social paradigm, right? So please know that, again, where does it start? It starts from you, the first thing you've done, because in any age from 0 to 7, when you are whatever that is being cultivated during that time, it becomes a subconscious thing for you. So you eating, when you see babies eat so often, why do they eat so often? It's also emotional too. You know, they're eating because they're transitioning into being in a new world. They went from being attached to their mothers to being, and then that's a whole nother topic. And then all the trauma that comes with birth. You know, so what are you teaching the child on a subconscious level when the child is crying and you feed them? And it's not a bad or good thing. We're not focused on that. It is more so understanding the root of how, like, oh, so near and dear to us, and then it just gets blurred where we're eating for pleasure, and we're eating for we're emotionally eating rather than eating for fuel. Right? So when we know better, we do better, but let's proceed. So where was I? For example, breastfeeding children whose mothers eat healthy during nursing time frame have the tendency to have healthier food preferences than as they grow older. As breastfeeding children tend to consume less formula-fed children, breastfeeding children eat less, right? They have better self-control when it comes to eating and managing eating. Why? Because they're used to eating higher nutritional content food, so they're not going to be overly consumed, because usually when you are dealing with people who overeat, they're usually nutritionally deprived. So that's that. I don't want to repeat myself on that. So yeah, mothers who eat healthy can prevent obesity in the long run. So we obviously know that. Okay, and you have better gut biome as well. So, you know, the thing is that we think we're so sophisticated that we're disconnected from seeing ourselves as an animal. But the thing is, we're the most inhumane freaking species on the planet. You could sometimes even see animals treat each other and their tribe better than we do. We treat ourselves and others, you know. So, and this has all been, of course, you know, designed and manipulated, but I digress. This is where our unconscious relationship to food begins as well. Many unconscious patterns we try to unpack and overcome as adults, especially ones patterns that are not serving us. Eating is instinctual, but also it is emotional. There's a deep correlation between feeling nurtured and regulating coping with your emotions. Eating, whether nursed or bottled, was how we instinctively coped with being in a new world and in a new body as an infant. This coping mechanism is instinctual in many animals when they come out the womb. We instinctually want to be nursed, not just for nutrients, but also for the new way of bonding and transitioning from being one with the mother. This is what we are used to before being born, right? We were used to being one, right? Feeling whole, feeling connected, you know, that umbilical cord and everything. And now we have this void that we're trying to fill, right? Especially the more traumatized that whole transition is, and then adding all the different triggers and emotional drama that, you know, life throws our way, which only perpetuates this emotional addiction or emotional eating. So yes, food was also our first coping mechanism. This also explains why all newborn babies do sleep, poop, eat during their early stages of life. They also eat very frequently to be nourished and nurtured throughout the transition, just as the physical body for emotional body just as well. You look into society, and it's called emotional driven addiction. All right, so now we're delving a little more in. You look into society and wonder why people do what they do. It is due to people's emotional set. We are emotional creatures, therefore we are social creatures. In a balanced and natural society, people use socialization to nurture and feed their emotional body. Right? And so this is the part that's missing. A lot of people like to disassociate or suppress or disassociate the fact that they're human and that they actually have emotions. And we all have those so-called needs, right? One of the needs that humans have is being social and socializing. You know, and right now I'm sure there's more people who are really feeding into different addictions, whether it's addiction to being online, addiction to food, gambling, or sex, or any other social imbalancements, you know, and compulsive behaviors are due to emotional avoidance, right? And avoidance of really sitting with oneself, and even recognizing the fact that we are emotional creatures. A lot of people, you know, we live in such a society where it's not, that's more so preyed upon and suppressed rather than actually cultivated and used to how should I say that? It just would have shifted the paradigm if we were more compassionate to each other and less masculine, because it creates an imbalancement which is affecting and reflecting in our health and behavior, and that's a whole nother topic in itself. But obviously you can't beat nature. We are emotional creatures. It doesn't matter how disclosed or discarded you are, your emotional side, if you don't acknowledge that, you're going to be at war with the emotional side. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. We both have these aspects to ourselves. We all have these aspects to ourselves. Okay, so where was I? Okay, in the present day. Okay, so let me just back forward a little bit. In a balanced and natural society, people use socialization to nurture and feed their emotional body. Back when socializing was more emotionally satisfying, there was no obesity epidemic. And people had a healthier and richer relationship with food and obviously with each other. In present day developed countries, people are more socially deprived. Therefore, they are more emotionally deprived. Many social encounters are socially engineered and processed, similar to the processed food that everyone in the present day that everyone eats and is addicted to. Okay, so unprocessed emotions equals unprocessed eating, unprocessed food. You're addicted to this because a lot of us, if you're born in society, it's kind of, and this is your norm, it's like, how would you know that this would be a problem, right? Okay, thank you, Gold Bar 69. Thank you for watching. This creates an emotional deficiency. Okay, so there is such thing as emotional deficiency. Less emotional intelligence, right? As you can see, there is people that are so stuck in one part of their aspect themselves, they're disconnected from having emotional intelligence when they're talking to people, talking to others. And people who are trying to counterbalance this unconsciously through their relationship with food. Okay, so you're unconsciously, because again, this was a program started, right? Not only instinctually, and you were programmed to eat, to nourish, and to transition ourselves into playing this humanly role, right? But then you are in a society that is emotionally depriving, right? And so now you have this unconscious relationship, this connection that draws you to use food, not only for nourishment naturally and as a child, but also, emotionally. So there we are. Let's keep going. How you emotionally process things is going to affect how you engage with food. Depends on how you think of the world around you and what happened to you. Okay? So again, it's normal for us to have the status quo standard American diet. That's why it's called standard American diet. And why is that? Because we have been cultivated in a society that is emotionally deprived, right? And people are preying on the fact that we are subconsciously programmed and attached to food, and we weren't able to fully develop a healthier relationship with ourselves, food, and others around us. So now we have this addictive behavior. This is why people usually binge eat while they are on a particular diet, right? They'll go on a diet or a fast, and then they'll just scarf their face down with all these other types of food, right? And it's just hard, right? And you even notice, if you guys, if you are a tribe member, because I know I have my tribes watching this as well, shout out to you guys. The thing is, when this is taking place, what am I trying to say? When this is taking place, you're on a diet. How many of you guys been on a diet and something stressed you out, and then you're like now craving chicken, pizza, right? And you were good, right? It was a moment, and you'll notice when you really start to do something different and go past your comfort zone, you'll start to see how powerful the subconscious is, right? The subconscious is the magnetic energy. And so acknowledging this power, right, and really being one with it, and nourishing your emotional self, and recultivating a new emotional set for yourself, right, a new mental space, which we'll probably talk about in another video. This will help you overcome emotional addiction. But again, we'll continue to proceed. Okay, so where was I? All right, back socializing, I probably should just continue to read so I don't get lost. Okay, so we binge eat. They can be triggered emotionally, which drives them to scarf down an entire large pizza to satisfy their emotional needs. Typically, they feel guilty and feel like crap after, similar to how you feel when you have a drunken one night stand. I love to compare it to that. Okay. So when you've seen or experienced this type of behavior, there's an internal battle that is driving this behavior, aka symptoms, right? This stems from emotional deprivation, or emotional deprivation, emotional imbalancement, right? And it's normal to have this so-called emotional imbalancement. Why? Because again, I'll say that later. Okay, acknowledgement is key. Why has this been normalized through the media and movies? We see this in movies, we see this in media, we see the correlation. A woman breaks up with her boyfriend, she eats a tub of ice cream and all this other bull, come on. This has been emotionally programmed us, and Valentine's Day coming in, so we eat a whole bunch of, the program chocolate and this, that, and the third, which, organic, natural cacao and chocolate and stuff is not bad, but come on, we know. But you see, we'll go in. Why has this normalized through the media and movies? Because a lot of money can and has been made in many industries from our animalistic nature and our disconnection and lack of understanding of our nature. We live in a capitalistic society, and in this type of society, it is about power, influence, money over natural human needs. This also explains why we see processed food and unnatural drugs being marketed and pushed in our society, as well as being readily available. We've seen our mental and physical health decline in these times, yet the diagnosis, labels, and the funding established have increased. Even though we all see it, it's such a taboo topic because you wouldn't have the so-called modern scientists and Western medical community argue with all of these established driven innovations and enact as if it's some type of jigsaw puzzle to figure out. Never would you dare have questioned the so-called modern and advanced civilization and expose it as the culture that creates the perpetuation of this imbalancement. And if you guys, again, want to read the article, Fefe the Holistic Gypsy, in the article section, it's called Food Addiction, Emotional Attachment. You can read that at your own time. And I'm still not done. Where am I? I'm just losing my place. But that was a mouthful there. This imbalancement is interconnected with the environment and nature itself, as well as us human beings. We are also a part of nature and the different aspects of ourselves. This unconsciously drives people to eat certain vibrational foods obsessively and take poison, pharmaceutical drugs that come with side effects because they are not holistic and balanced. That also perpetuates them to feel low, imbalanced, more sick, illness, and suffering, all for a temporary altered state of consciousness, for a temporary comfort of relief from their energetic, emotional imbalancement. People are awakening to this loop that many of us have fell into, and that has been perpetuated and proposed on our society. And they starting to think for themselves, exercise some level of self-discipline, right, to get out of this loop. However, we have to be careful not to think linearly and one-dimensional about how to go about in doing this. We should consider the emotional and spiritual aspects to arrive at a holistic perspective. Acknowledgement and acceptance to this emotional side of ourselves will do wonders in breaking unhealthy habits such as food addiction. So, again, acknowledging this conscious universe and natural remedies or so-called alternatives. I mean, we can rewrite the script. It's the real medicine of the planet, period. We are connected to nature and nature is us, right? And food alone is medicine. I mean, they have it kind of coded in the so-called agency called Food and Drug Administration. Food is a drug. Food is really a medicine. It's the natural medicine of the planet. And so with the herbs and the God foods, the God actually designed our biological design to eat is really medicinal for our body. Now the other kind of crap, I can't, I have my share experiences with that, but I'm sure you guys are watching because you obviously did too. So we may want to eat certain ways, but are unaware of these impacts. This alone can control you when you're not aware of the influence and impact of connection to why we unconsciously consume certain things. It is not just for logical reasons, it is also for energetic reasons. For example, a lot of people will say, I feel like eating, ... Or ask another, what do you feel like eating, ... We say this, but are unconscious of how often we are driven to emotionally eat. I'm not here to say completely stop or shame anyone for emotionally eating. I'm bringing this to light from a holistic perspective. I feel like it would be more balanced to begin to have a healthier understanding of an acknowledgement that this is natural for us to emotionally eat, but also know that others prey and gain on so much from the ignorance and our imbalancements. Also know you are able to vibrationally shift your emotions and consciously practice self-discipline to make better food consumption choices. Does this take work and effort? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Yes, it does. Can it be done? Yes. Does it help? Does it have to be perfect? No, it doesn't have to look perfect. Because I know a lot of people give up because they screw up every once in a while, right? And it's not to say you have to fully not eat something that you enjoy ever again. It's just a matter of that's just not being the primary source of where you get your nutrients, and you want to really treat your body as a temple. And if you guys are confused on what I'm talking about, your body is a temple. This is what houses us to even be animated to have this so-called human experience. And we treat it like shit, and we wonder why. Oh, the government treat us like shit. Well, you treat yourself like shit, okay? They're going to reflect us. So if we get back and take back our power, and we understand the significance and know how worthy and how divine we are, and how divine this body, and how intelligent it is, right? Because we're a combination of so much, and it's just so sad that people don't understand how pivotal them changing and how it would affect, and the ripple effects of this, and how it can change the society at large. But that's of course my vision for the world, but I digress. Okay, so I feel it would be more balanced to begin with a healthy understanding by So it doesn't have to be perfect. Perfection is an illusion, right? It's like chasing a phantom. In other words, don't obsess with certain ideologies, concept of image or of you, right? So a lot of people get to, even with certain people, certain teachers and practitioners and certain people who are spokespeople for, I guess, what you would look up to, right? A lot of people start idolizing these people, and so when they see that these people are not perfect, and they have their time when they want to treat themselves and eat they may be plant-based, but now they go on to eat sushi, eat some fish. Everyone's like, they're in an uproar. Like, first of all, let the person do what they want to do, right? At the end of the day, it's really about the essence of the message. I know a lot of people try to kill the messenger, right? And we always are trying to zoom in and look for flaws within whoever that's delivering some information that's going to hold you accountable to yourself, if you allow it, because we were talking about the exception, and a lot of people are okay with the comfort zone, and we're told that eating processed foods and eating this and that's just norm. We all grew up in that society. Even all different races have their thing, but that has been designed, right? So we can create this refinery process, and now we're in a state where now we're talking about robots and shit. How did it get to this goddamn far? And it's fine with technology, but it's at a point where the lack of self-control, that we're really about to take ourselves off this damn planet, and it's all due to the power that we give to these industries who make this so-called toxic ass shit that we perpetually eat and go to when we are not in a state of understanding that we are being preyed upon emotionally. If you see it with the election, you see it all the time. You see it with the shootings and all the different major events that take place. I mean, at what point do you realize that you're being preyed upon emotionally? Period. And it's like, if we don't understand and acknowledge this, you're going to keep getting preyed on. And it breaks my heart because, I want us to rise above being outside of the reptilian and the lower chakra phase. I want us to align all of our chakras and really be holistic into our approach of life, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So yes, we know it takes work. Yes, we know you don't have to be perfect, right? You can have every once in a while whatever you want to eat. Predominantly, your baseline is and should be maintaining balance with it, right? And then even when you do eat certain types of food, you have to get to where you have a better relationship with yourself, where you're not dependent or trying to alter or stimulate or suppress your emotions through food. Because again, it is a drug. Balanced health is not a fixed thing. Balanced health is not a fixed thing. Life is continually flowing, changing rhythms and fluctuating. This may look slightly different for others based on their holistic engagement with life and how they can conduct and alchemize the energy of impacts of what is consumed and output. We all have our different encounters and approach and experiences and perspective of the energy we are giving and receiving. The key to this is moving with the flow and the dance of life to maintain balance and not a fixed position. When you do that, you easily get beat up and weathered down more by life. However, people will come from a place of right or wrong about emotions and food rather than from a space of cause and effect. Okay, and that's the space that I like to work from, is really not dogmatizing this, is understanding, this types of food and these types of behavior and all these other factors in your life is going to affect each person differently, right? Because you do have people who may have been able to eat these unhealthy, unprocessed foods, and all the other areas of their life, they were able to counterbalance the energetic receiving input and output process, okay? But we can't deny the general cause and effect of eating food that is taking out of its natural state and constantly doing that, because you are what you eat. It becomes your cellular and your genetic makeup, and it has a ripple effect to our overall state of health. How are you guys doing? I know I've been on here for a while, so I want to make sure everyone's doing good. Okay, awesome. Okay, let's dive back in. So yeah, I see so many people dogmatizing, right or wrong, bad or good, the path to being healthy. And I sometimes question this approach to see the efforts of how it perpetuates the unhealthy habits, engaging with others and eating disorders such as food addiction, due to the shaming, guilt tripping, and unacceptance to even come from a more balanced perspective rather than such a polarizing one. This is not helping people. We have a lot of people in the community who is doing this, and it's just not helping people, because again, we are emotional creatures, and all you're going to do is trigger people to go back into these habits. But the thing is, start addressing this with love and compassion and not arrogancy. The knowledge is not more important. It's not put above those who you're trying to get to absorb and implement it. Okay, so the person, the human, or whoever you're trying to connect to, the message should be put towards, put in a way that is creating an emotional connection, because we are operating from an emotional space. A lot of the things we drive by, do, and go to and buy, even the brands and everything we do, is for our emotional satisfaction. So the better we understand this about ourselves, the better we can have a level of self-control and self-awareness, so we can fill our own cup, for one, learn to be self-sufficient, but two, also be able to see how other people are being used, right? It's like, if you're not using your own intellect and energy, you're going to get used. You understand? So people are being used because they don't know this information. People will perish because of lack of knowledge, and people don't fully understand the emphasis of how much this is being used upon our society, and it has molded our society to put us in such a different state and paradigm, only because we choose not to take a level of control, take a level of accountability, and take back our control and our power. How how you feel vibrationally. Oh wait, where was I? Okay, so yeah, however, so I talked about that. We talked about dogmatizing, all that good stuff. Okay, rather than demonizing emotional eating, I think it's more impactful and important to accept and acknowledge this and work on having a healthy relationship with ourselves by respecting and acknowledging our emotional need. Also acknowledging the emotional impact that drives us to not only feel a certain way, behave a certain way, but eat a certain way, and getting caught up in the loops such as food addiction. We can start this process by making space to feel our emotions and accept our emotions and know that we are able to change our emotions and are not just our emotions, right? So it's not to say you are just your emotions, it's you to acknowledge it and be able to work with it. But if you are suppressing and not acknowledging your own emotions, or at war with oneself and mad because you're in a certain state, and so now you're trying to disconnect from being in that state instead of acknowledging that state, you're going to get got by something else, right? Also, when sitting with our emotions and not deny our emotions, shame or dogmatize them, right? You know, we believe that there's good and bad emotions. It's not good to be angry. It's not good to be in a state of depression or shame or guilt and these different states. We demonize these emotions, but these emotions, and we're going to have to talk about that and delve into just all the different vibrations of the emotions, but creating this war and dogmatization of all the different spectrums of emotions all have its place and purpose. And the thing is, we live in a society where it's like, this emotion's good, this emotion's bad. We even get rewarded emotionally, right, based off of how we are pleasing another person, right? And so a lot of us have to neglect ourselves to please others just to get emotionally fed. And then you still have avoidancy because you're neglecting the aspect of yourself or suppressing the aspect of yourself just to fit into a society, you know. And we can that can go into just religion, go into a certain frame of thought, a certain groupthink mentality, you know, thinking outside of your family and things of that. And so you get bastardized or chastised, and this can create a so-called emotional deficiency, especially when you have to create, you know, because you do want to please your society and your family at large, but you also have and are in your own avatar to live your life as well. So it's about balancing the two and understanding thyself and knowing thyself on these levels to not get got and not to allow these unconscious and subconscious behaviors override us because we're at war or we're trying to suppress them. Because just like we try to suppress symptoms in the body, they're going to wind up creating more symptomology and making more noises. But the thing is, we're at war with oneself, so half the time we don't even see all the different expressions that are crying out that we're not one with ourselves, we're not centered. When we know what we don't deserve, we know what we do deserve. Absolutely conscious universe. I love it. You're dropping a lot of knowledge there. Beautiful. Rather than demonizing emotional eating, right? So yeah, again, all the freaking polices out here, y'all are not helping society. If you're on some type of ego trip because you're eating fruits and you're fasting, or you live in a fucking jungle, whatever the hell it is, I don't really care. The thing is, when you're demonizing people and just demonizing them and just hitting the stick over the head and becoming like some type of militant police, and you're not cultivating an environment that makes people feel nourished and safe, first of all, to even hold space for what you're saying, they're going to go through this polarizing situation and start binge eating. And you're probably binge eating as well, because there's no reason to be angry at those who do this, right? It's to really hold space and have compassion for those. But you know, even me as a practitioner, as frustrated as I do get, because like I said with the story that I opened up with, you know, that was frustrating, right? But you know, before I even work with people, first of all, there's a level of attachment and disattachment that I have to have a fine balance with it, because otherwise, you know, I can get lost in every person that I work with and what their behavior patterns and what they do and don't do. You know, there's many people I've worked with who have decided to just fully fade out because they, you know, even me when I'm doing my coaching, they're like, oh, you know, I'll ask them like, hey, how was your eating this, this week or since the last time we talked? And I could tell they're hesitant to tell me because they think that I'm going to like bark down their throat. But instead, we have more of a realistic conversation and just say like, I know you're not investing, right, into this, for no reason, for one. And then two, yeah, if you've been doing good, okay, one little time or one time and revisiting an old friend, right, learning to transition and get yourself out of that place, because it took me a while. I didn't fucking, as much as I did change some things overnight, there were certain parts such as, food, that didn't change overnight. That was a gradual process for me, so being able to hold that space for other people as they, understand, because it took me a while. Like I watched Dr. Moore's videos, like I've came across his work since 2010. It took me literally 5 years just to revamp, to revisit, and just to give it a try, right? Because after a certain point, I get tired of the suffering and the aches and pain and just doctors giving me either options to get shit cut out or to freaking put me on medication. And I didn't want neither one of those options. I knew I was capable of healing oneself. And so I'm so happy and honored when someone takes the time out to pour into you where you understand this information for yourself, right? So you definitely have to hold space when you are working with a practitioner or coach that is pouring into you and trying to empower you, but also the practitioner should be able to hold space for you as well. But please know that you definitely have to will yourself to wellness, and that comes with discipline, and that comes with being accountable. And a lot of people are uncomfortable being held accountable because we live in a society that we've been emotionally coddled, emotionally deprived so long, and we've been using all these other things as addictions to overcompensate. So it's just like it's just a norm to actually just be comfortably unhealthy and imbalanced. It's like a social norm, and it has created such again, if people knew more about themselves and been able to nourish themselves back into a different, not only emotional state, but different mental perspective, it would change their course behaviors. Detachment must be attached to nothing and connect to everything. Yes, I like that. That's a good way of putting it. Oh my God. Yeah, definitely DM me. But okay, so here we go. So this is the polarizing view, and suppression of our emotions come from a masculine dominated perspective, and it's very dangerous, as we can see. To bring balance is to acknowledge the power of the feminine force as well. And for as you sit and ponder on observing more, you will see most of society preys on the feminine aspects of ourselves because it's suppressed and people prey on it, and they manipulate it. And it's and we're at war with it within ourselves more than anything. The new entertainment interactions and just about everything you do is driven by emotions, right? Emotions should be acknowledged and not suppressed or controlled. Having a journal that is focused on processing your emotions through, first, and so not just acknowledging that you have different emotional perspectives about things, but also knowing you're not just your emotion, but do acknowledge your emotions, and also having an opportunity to nourish yourself, nourish your emotions, and just the simple act of journaling, because some people may not have people in their life to talk to, so sometimes you may need to talk to yourself. And so this is why sometimes a lot of people are pushing therapy to have someone that is so-called trained to hold space for you to actually just hear yourself talk, right? Because it's really, if you guys ever been to therapy, which I have, that's typically what you're doing. Every once in a while they do give their suggestion, but half the time I'm not there for their suggestion. I'm there to hear myself talk. But journaling, so building a better relationship with yourself and really being able to focus and allowing you to process your emotions. So write it down. How did you feel that day? What took place? What upset you? What made you happy? What, being in tune with this part of yourself would be able to nourish yourself, through acknowledging this part, especially when we live in a society where, like I said, it was more socially, emotionally nourishing, and now we live in a society where it's emotionally depriving. And so this has led us to be even more in addictive behaviors. And it's not even just with food, but food is what we're going to focus on, as we all know tonight. Having a food log as well, right, to observe your day-to-day emotions and engagement with people and food will also help. So this, when I'm working with clients as well, and then they book me one-on-one. One of the things that I do is food logging. So I do offer all these other suggestions, but food logging is great because you could write down what you ate, but also you're journaling as well to keep in tune with how are you feeling, with the core. So this helps you build a better relationship with your food and see how the food affects you emotionally, energetically, but also it builds and show your behavior patterns when it comes to food, depending on what emotionally set you off as well. So being able to acknowledge that and reflect this and having and documenting this, especially when you're transitioning and willing yourself out of the old paradigm of, impulsively and obsessively, being addicted to food that is not serving your body well and your state of health. So having someone that is grounded and in space to hold space for you. So if you do have a loved one, let's see, are we still good? I don't know what happened. Okay, cool. I'm about to say the thing kind of cut off. Okay, so if we do have someone who's holding space for us, right, who is holding space when we are in this state, or when we are emotionally disconnected or imbalancement, right? If it's important to have, if you do, have people who can hold space for you, and you can talk about whatever you need to get off your chest. So that's also another way to get emotional nourishment, because we are social creatures. So yeah, having someone that's grounded, right? Someone that's not going to be, take you, where you're in your vulnerable state, and they take full advantage of, you venting. You want someone who is grounded and be centered and be able to hold space for you. If you are able to find those types of people, I definitely take advantage of that. Okay. Right, so they're not built up and suppressed or unprocessed, because like I said, unprocessed foods, or unprocessed emotions leads to unprocessed foods, and perpetuates this addictive behavior and creates emotional stagnation. And emotional stagnation is going to reflect in physical stagnation, which manifests what we call disease and illnesses within the body. Respecting oneself and creating space of health, of healthy outlets of emotional release throughout the art of movement. So so there comes the art play, and or even exercising, whether that's exercising, yoga, stretching, breathing, doing some type of motion and moving your body will help create fluidity within the body. If you guys have read any of my articles, I talked and emphasize the being fluent. Life and vitality is about being fluent, energy always in motion, and one of the things about life is constantly changing. And so what creates deterioration and diseases and illnesses as we know it is stagnation, right? So we want to encourage movement within our body. And so, dancing, exercising, stretching, yoga, breathing, all these different things that create energy and movement to fully be in the here and now and focus, even art, transmuting some of the emotional, there's people who paint, there are places they're called like panic rooms or stress relief rooms, where you can release your stress, transmuting your energy, and you can write a book, finding productive ways, also turning your pain into passion. And transmuting your pain is a very beautiful way, whether it's through art, whether it's you helping other people and things of that. But these are very powerful ways to transmute your emotions and also nourish oneself, so you won't have an be emotionally deprived and then be drawn back to eating these unhealthy foods that are not serving you. And so the thing is, we can either continue to be in this perpetual loop, or we can try to think outside of the box. And I know these concepts I'm giving to you may be different, because again, it's not in our social norm for this to happen. But those who are on the other side and who have been able to transmute their food addiction, drug addiction, sex addiction, or whatever imbalancement or addiction they have from emotional deprivation. But we have to acknowledge how important the emotions are to even get to a space of I'm not taking requests right now. I'm doing a presentation, but I can take a request after I finish my live mind evolution. Thank you so much, though. I really appreciate it. If you stick around after, we definitely can add people in. and I really appreciate you wanting. And but till then, you definitely can write in the comments because I do read them. Having a journal, food logging, having someone to talk to, transmuting your emotions through movements, right? These are ways to transmute your emotions. So again, you'll be less likely to pick up, and go back. It's like an unhealthy relationship when it comes to sex. You see like men and women do it all the time. They know they're in an unhealthy relationship, and it comes with our food. But the thing is, the real unhealthy relationship starts with ourselves. So being committed to having a better relationship with oneself, and doing these things for yourself. These are things you don't get any social points in doing, right? But these things will help you be able to be more self-disciplined and have and nourish thyself, right? And not seeking this validation outside thyself. Is like getting one and knowing thyself and really cultivating and transmuting this energy. Because the thing is, we all go through difficulties. We all are, especially this whole situation has shifted all of us. And you have those who have fully like kind of plummeted and got sunken in like a sunken place, and you have those who take this moment and they're very agile and very limber and resilient, and they're able to overcome the shift of society and still make the best out of it. And why is this? These people are more than likely have better relationships with themselves, or at least have some type of social set or emotional cultivating society that helps create some emotional nourishment to even have the confidence to continue to thrive in such a society where there's people who are literally losing their homes, losing their jobs. Suicide rates have increased and all types of things. And I'm not even going to lie, I wasn't in the best mental and emotional state throughout this process myself. It took me some time as well. But I was able to observe oneself, acknowledge my emotions, sit with them, and start cultivating them so we can be one with each other again, versus it consuming me. Because eventually I did fall off of my own eating regimen and eating certain foods because I was at war trying to suppress my emotions and trying to alter my emotions and use food as a drug, which it is, to alter my state of being, instead of me learning to be one with my state of being first, and then get us to move as one and be whole versus fragmentized and be disconnected because I think this emotion's unpleasant. So sometimes that's what it takes. But us going over and acknowledging this hopefully would be able to get through to those who are open to receiving. So respecting oneself and creating space of healthy outlets of emotional release. Like I said, I already named all the different ones. I truly hope you find this article enlightening and filled with compassion. I aim to empower and bring balance. The topic of food addiction is a series. This is part 1. So thank you for reading. Thank you guys for watching. Please share this with all others. This live stream, again, we're live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, and Fefe the Holistic Gypsy, Holistic Tribe Health and Wellness Club. I truly appreciate you guys. If you guys Instagram want to stick around, let me see if there's any questions and comments. Are you on our club website?
Yeah.
Anyone? We're good? Well, I know we had a bit of a delay, so I'm going to end this broadcast. Again, my name is Fefe, the Holistic Gypsy, your favorite holistic health practitioner, certified detox specialist, clinical iridologist. If you're looking for any holistic health services, coaching, birth chart, I even do birth chart readings. Join Holistic Tribe Health and Wellness Club. I also do have 2 levels of membership. It's only $7 annually to join, and that's just to keep the site up. But I have a lot of files and documents, growing video library. I'm constantly working on articles, and I'm actually extending my platform out for bringing on some other amazing providers to share and introduce you guys. I have Shout Out and Support Sundays, where I share my platform with all other providers that also are into empowering and self-healing and the betterment of our people, and self-nourishing, right? Because we say ours, like, first of all, I don't have nothing, but for people who resonate and are holding space for this, okay? And so that's Fefe the Holistic Gypsy. Why did I create that platform? Why? Because I didn't want to get censored. I got censored just for talking about the truth, about, I'm probably not going to stay here because I want to keep this video up, but you can check out, I have content on my site that is not here on social media because I don't own social media. And so, it's really about controlling this information so it can empower our people and having a safe, private place where information is not being manipulated or altered, and this information is to empower and have people walk away feeling more whole and not feeling deprived or feeling smaller or feeling belittled. I'm not here for that. I'm really here because I'm connected to everyone here. Like if I'm not good, if y'all not good, that's just how it works. Like, you know, so the more I can empower my brothers and sisters, the more you know, the better society can be at large. So I thank you guys for watching. I'm going to shut down the broadcast. And again, Fefe the Holistic Gypsy. Check out the links in the description and in my bio. Peace. Thank you guys for watching.